first item on the agenda is privilege of the floor. Alrighty.
Okay.
If it pleases the board, I would like to move up under new business, swearing in of new board member to now in front of minutes, if that's okay with everyone, so it doesn't have to be official.
Sure.
Bernie, I need you to swear, read this. This will be your swearing in, and then if you could please get it notarized at your earliest convenience.
Okay.
Press, thank you.
Read it aloud.
Yes, please.
I, Bernard Marone, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of trustee for the Goshen Public Library and Historical Society according to the best of my ability. And I do further solemnly swear or affirm that I have not directly or indirectly paid, offered, or promised to pay, contributed or offered, or promised to contribute any money or other valuable thing as consideration or reward for the giving or withholding of votes at the election at which I was elected to said office, and have not made any promise to influence the giving or withholding any such votes.
Okay, no, thank you. Welcome. Our newest trustee, so you're in, so just have that notarized, that would be awesome. Thank you. Next item on the, and you have a board packet, so you can follow along in there. The first packet, so you'll get you'll get an email telling you when to come pick it up at the library, and you'll have like 3 or 4 days to read through it, if there are any questions or anything you need. Okay, next item on the agenda is minutes of the meeting of June 14th. Any questions or concerns?
I have a couple.
Yes.
On page 2, the bottom paragraph, resolved, the last line, board president will.
It drops right off. Or
Last sentence.
oh, right before the motion.
So the very last sentence of that paragraph.
Oh. Board president will. What am I willing? I don't have anything.
You will.
I think
I
it
have
has
no
to do with
money.
the
There was
with
more
the
to
member
it
that
one.
was sent the letter, the former trustee.
Oh,
Yes,
right.
there is additional verbiage that belongs there. I'm sorry. It's the board
send notification
will send.
of the resignation of the board.
Right.
Okay.
So with that adjustment,
Okay.
There also was in the same section of the minutes, I believe there was a resolution that thanked Bill for his service while he was a member of the board.
Yeah, that's something.
It was the last,
as part of the minutes and not as part of the resolve, as an addition to the minutes.
there was a resolution on that.
Was there? I don't
You
remember who
don't
motioned
normally
all
make a
that stuff.
resolution on that sort of thing, but it can be noted in the minutes.
Well, since we had resolution, I mean, the format we were using was that, I thought there were actually 3 resolutions that related to Bill Courtney, but I know, since we had a resolution that was pretty, legalistic, and one could even argue cold, we wanted to take the formal step of also formally indicating that we wanted to thank him for the contribution he made while he was here.
Would you like me to work on the minutes and resubmit them next month?
That one portion of minutes, you think we should hold off the
That's
next month?
fine.
So we'll table the minutes till next month, at which time they'll be
Those
reviewed and.
changes are made.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Treasurers?
One
sorry.
last change. I'm sorry, didn't take it.
That's okay.
The first page under new business A, Matt explained how we help students, but ultimately most college level research is directed back to the college.
Yes.
Thank you.
So the minutes will be tabled till August. Treasurer's report.
Hey, good evening, everybody. At tonight's meeting, we have our treasurer, Rob Schultz, here, so I just wanna thank Rob for coming, and I'll present the numbers here. Rob and I were just going over some things upstairs, but this is the big month, the June 30th month, so the last month of the fiscal year, and the report here is probably 99% complete. There are still a few June invoices to be paid, but in the last couple of weeks, Audrey and myself made a pretty good effort to get caught up on a lot of the Baker and Taylor and Brodart invoices for the book. So there are still a few more up there, but probably not more than a couple of thousand. So these numbers are pretty much near final, pretty close to what the final will be. And items like the salaries are exactly what the final will be. So more or less, we stayed right on track where we said we would be. The salaries for the year came in at $567,000. The budget was $568,000, so within $1,000. The library charges on the income side were $23,000. The budget was $20,000, so that was good. We were over by $3,000. And I think for next year we put in $24,000 for library charges. So hopefully we'll gain a little more for next year on that side of it. And the total income side was $1,200,000 actual compared to budget $1,190,000. So almost $10,000 over budget on income, which is good. And there's still some interest income that'll have to be entered, so we'll probably be even a little more overall over on budget on income. As I mentioned, the books are pretty much nearly caught up. We have one bill upstairs that we're gonna pay this week to Baker and Taylor, and some of the expenses were entered after this report was printed last week. So there'll be a little bit more on books, but definitely it's more caught up than it had been in the last few meetings. Everything else is pretty much the grand scheme of things. We're $179,000 under budget on expenses, and I was trying to see where this all came from, and or at least the bulk of it. And the main reasons were the retirement being almost $36,000 by itself under budget. The interest on indebtedness, which is totally current through June, were $31,000 under budget, and some of the other items add up to that. But that's why we're more or less stayed where we were hoping to stay under budget for the year, and so I think it was a pretty good year. And then on the balance sheet that shows how much cash we have left, we had $23,000 left as of June 30th, but we had a payroll since then, so it's lower now, and we had a loan payment since then as well. But more or less, we ended with a little more, almost roughly the same amount we ended last year with. So we ended the year with roughly the same, and during a year in which we paid down the debt $150,000 in that one-shot payment, plus the larger payments that we've been making since February. On page 2 of the balance sheet, the mortgage payable is listed as $417,804. That's as of June 30th. A day later, on July 1st, we made the July payment. So right now, we're down to $411,128. So the loan is down substantially for the year. And more or less, that's where we're at. Any questions? I'd be happy to answer your questions or anything that you would like to look at.
Bernie, just so you know, the $411,128 is the mortgage on the land. It was started at $600,000. So since we got a mortgage, we've been paying that down, and that's the strides we've made. And when we do this, less than a year.
In October, I think it was, right?
So
We made that.
that's,
Right.
you'll see that number and it keep going down. So.
Right.
Baker and Taylor are.
They're one of our vendors for where we purchased the books from. Baker and Taylor and Broder are the two main. It's a lot of paperwork, and we don't pay it till the packing slip that shows that it was shipped here is matched with the invoice. So they're always a little behind, and it takes a big stack of them to add up to a substantial amount of money. So it's a lot of paperwork for not really big dollars. But there'll be some more of them in there before this is final, but more or less, it's pretty much caught up.
Thank you.
comment or clarification is on payroll, on a cash basis, you're online with a budget, but there are gonna be some audit adjustments. You have to accrue the payroll, the last payroll of the
Right.
period, which wasn't paid till right after the fiscal year. But that's really an expense of the prior fiscal year, so it will be over budget, but not by much.
Right, I should say, for the actual numbers we have here, have 26, pay periods in it, so on that basis, we're right on line, so.
There will be an adjustment.
For the accrual, cause right,
But it's not.
yeah, the last pay check, other than the one this week, was July 1st, so it was the day after the fiscal year.
But pay period for that were the last 2
In
weeks of
June, right.
Right, so that's
Right.
I
why,
got you, I understand.
Right, but then we had the one from the prior year that'll be reversed, so
the
it
whole thing
kinda, yeah,
shifted it.
yeah, kinda almost, right, so, but more or less, we were pretty online on that number, and I know it's the number everybody's interested in, so.
It's easy to do.
Right.
In effect, we have a fund balance of about 250,000, is that what that?
Uh,
It was 240, I think it was 238 after the payroll, wasn't that what we figured it was?
you mean fund balance of remaining cash?
Yeah, at the end of the fiscal year, we have roughly 250,000.
Right.
Give or take 5 or 10,000, roughly a quarter of a million.
Right,
Okay, and that's roughly what we had a year ago.
right,
All right.
exactly.
So we're getting, most of that money is in the money market, I guess it is?
Yes, we're
Getting, what, 1.5% on that?
1.05.
And we're paying on the loan
5
5.75. So if we were to, let's say, pay $100,000 off out of the fund balance, we would save about $3,500 to $4,000
Right,
in interest.
but if we were to do that, then next year at this time, when the TAN issue came up again, we would have
We'd
to,
have to borrow more money.
right, so that could be done, but then next year there would be
What we were thinking actually is, because now we're getting ahead of ourselves, was the fund balance would finance the 3 months between the end of one fiscal year and the beginning of the next. Because that's what it would cover, that would be about our expenses for 3 months, about $240,000.
Okay,
So that was the
that's another
idea, we had
scenario.
that fund balance, in order to shift our fiscal year,
Right.
we would use that money for that instead of paying them along. Yeah, and we went over the numbers and it would work, but since we're jumping ahead on the lines.
Okay. Another question, on the salaries, for librarians, we were under 315,000, but for other salaries, we were over 314.
It's only because when the way the budget is set up, the whole amount is just in that top line, the librarian salaries. We don't distinguish when we set up the budget between librarian salaries and other salaries. I think we always just put it in under one lump amount, so you would really be looking at the total for that subcategory, total salaries and wages.
Why have it broken down this way? Because it appears that in the category other salaries and wages, that we spent 314,000, is what it says. If that belongs in the line above, it seems like a strange way to do the report.
I just think that it would take a lot more in setting up the budget to have the budget part broken out among librarians, and then other would be
Maybe it's a question for the treasurer.
You know, it's just because the budget wasn't broken down. There's no separation when you do the budget. I guess you gotta separate between librarian salaries and other. But the only reason this has been broken down this way, is one of your reports for the RCLS, on a calendar year basis, they break down this, they need librarian salaries and other salaries. But, prior to maybe a dozen years ago, it was all one number.
Right.
And no one's budgeted separately since then, but it's easy enough to do.
So it's just for reporting to RCLS is why we have it.
Why you have 2 lines
Instead of just one line for salaries.
I don't mind having the 2 lines, but the line for other salaries is 300,000. we don't have, apparently we don't have 300,000 for other salaries. Right? Isn't almost all the money going to the librarians?
No,
No, no, no, it's the other way around.
no, librarians are,
The librarians were under budget by
well,
300.
well, really, the whole line is under budget by $1,300. You can't really separate them, one over budget and one under budget. Because it's, you budgeted one line, that's it, total salaries. So what you should look at is the total salaries and wages and ignore the top two.
So the top two are just there for RCLS reporting
That's
purposes
all,
and
that's all, really, the most important thing is just total salaries and wages.
And the
'Cause
whole thing.
that's how you budget.
Is that includes
Right, and
everything?
that whole thing, that's everybody on our payroll, and at the end of the year, we were 1,300.
Yes, yeah, that's the
So this
important
is
line.
just-
The top two lines are
Very
for
low.
some other report,
Right, so they don't even, so,
just ignore it.
would it simplify things if we just don't have the breakdown in the next budget?
No, to my mind, if other salaries and wages is in the neighborhood of, what's it, 25,000, that actually we spent approximately? I don't know what the number is, I just, let's have a number that approximates what the other salaries and wages are. I don't mind breaking it down, let's have numbers that approach.
We're just gonna split that, so your total librarian salaries for last year were $252,000, and your total other salaries were $314,000. But the budget was never separated.
So we
Yes,
should
I think
just
the budget
separate it in the
we
budget
should
going
separate the
forward?
budget to reflect
If
that.
either that or, I don't know why you couldn't separate it.
I just think it looks strange to have a budget where, gee, one category, $300,000 were under budget, another category, $300,000
Well,
were
just
over
the-
budget. Why do that when we can, we know in advance roughly what these two
So make
expenses are
the
going to be, so just have the budget reflect that.
Yeah, that can be easily done when you're, working up the budget, because you have everybody's name, you know who's the librarian.
Right.
So that could have been easily split, if that was an issue. The biggest thing was the total wages, salaries and wages are on budget.
Right, the total's fine. Under library materials, there's a lot of, we ended up with $25,000 below budget, $9,000 on the adult books.
Right.
Does this library, does the staff, is the staff requesting these books? I would think we would need this money for these books, and this library is about providing resources to the public. So it's sort of curious to me that we, in this extremely critical area, we're $25,000 under. Why didn't we spend this money, or is the need not there? I guess that's a question.
That's sometimes what happens is that, you have so much room, and it's kind of a balance between how fast you wanna weed and how fast you wanna replace. And also I think with the whole removal of, or let's say condensing the children's, that took a lot of energy away from what would normally be spent just perusing the professional literature and buying books. It's still an adjustment, I think. And I don't remember where we were how we did last year, but I have a feeling that those two, that it does come to partly just a matter of, you probably need to do another meeting to make room for new stuff to come in, which takes a lot of power.
Do you know the size of our collection, just off the top of your head,
I
roughly?
don't know.
Ballpark? Okay.
I could reference it.
Okay, those are the two questions I have.
Any other questions on the treasurer's report? Do you have a motion to accept?
I had one question, but we were gonna talk about it at some point. It was something that you had brought up, that as an asset, we don't list this building. This building's like $1 million asset. We don't even list it on our list of assets. Is that something that we?
Well, the problem is the building is so old that at this point it would be fully depreciated. Because you list them as assets, but then you also depreciate them, those are the new rules on it. But mostly buildings are depreciated between 30 and 40 years. At this point, it would have been fully depreciated, so we would have $200,000 depreciation net zero. Most school district libraries, school districts do not list the assets are fixed assets on their balance sheet, they expense them, shows an expense through the year. They don't use commercial type accounting. The only reason we had to was the land. One, it's not depreciable. Two, we had a $600,000 liability that needed to be recorded, and you needed to see it. This building is fully unencumbered and old enough to have been fully depreciated, so there was really no point putting it on there. The audited financial statements address it, and they do show the fixed assets. They do have, but it's based on estimates, not an actual cost. So it's, I don't know for sure, but I'm sure the building is fully depreciated.
Yeah.
So there's really no point to put it on this report. Anything with the building or any of the equipment. But since we have this $600,000 mortgage, we certainly have to record that so that.
That's me.
But technically, at this point in time, we don't have a mortgage, as I understand it, we have a loan.
Well, you have a
It's a
loan,
loan, it's secured by the land. So, unless I remember this one.
I thought it was not secured.
Oh, no, you're right.
Oh,
It's
not on
It's
this
an
building.
unsecured loan.
Not on this building, right, but only
Right.
on the land. So we have a $411,000 loan out there, and what he's saying is we're balancing it off by
Right,
listing the
I
asset
appreciate
of the
that, but
land.
I thought the loan was totally unsecured.
I think you're right, I think it is totally unsecured, but because it's listed
Right.
as
A
an expense,
liability.
we balance it out
Right,
with
that's fine.
the land.
Right. Okay,
Good,
thanks.
no problem.
I'll
Yes.
make a motion to accept the transfer.
Second? Thank you. Ellen, Norma, motion, first and second. All in favor? Motion carries. Director's report.
Hello, everybody.
Annette.
Let's see here. Did a lot with the building this past June. I finally got the exhaust fan put into the bathroom, so that got finished. Lights were attended to down here. I don't know if anyone
So
noticed.
much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Great.
much better.
I can actually
It's
read
not a
it.
cave. Yeah, holy smokes.
And what else did we do? We had the outlets on the front of the building, which should be nice for program. We used to have to put the cables through out the window. It's a little funny, but yeah. So he got two of them in. And Mark, we called Mark to go check the gutters out. I had a couple people point out to me that there was some flora growing in the gutters, so he went up and cleaned it out and recommends that we have somebody look at the roof sooner than later, which has been his clarion call for years. He said even the newer area looks like it needs attention. He noticed some slates, sliding down the roof and such. So we haven't had any leaks, any worse than the last few years. As I say, you can hear one. It never seems to quite make it down to the actual used space of the library. It's kind of up there in the attics and conveniently ignored as it drips away. But it used to be a lot worse than that. A few years back, we had to pull out plastic every time it rained and cover the stacks, in places. But still, obviously, it's not getting any better by itself. It's entropy for you. I had a discussion with a representative from Joint Recreation about the easement. Apparently, a taxpayer has been was offended by their taking care of the easement, and I faxed them the agreement that they have with us that states that they are to take care of it. That was part, so they were happy to receive that. At least they have something to show the taxpayer. And they also asked about the gate. They said the gate in front of the. I haven't been over in a while. I haven't been over since last year, actually, with Ken's Play. But they said the gate needs repair too. I don't know if any. Okay.
Saturday.
Okay. So we'll have to look into that. All right. Bad news about Ken's Play the first day. I don't know if you all
The
know.
tent that took down the temple.
Exactly. His tent collapsed in the morning.
Yeah.
So.
What an irony.
Yeah, right. That storm that came through blew it down, so they had to nix the first show. He may put a third one, another show in for the upcoming weekend. He's not sure yet. Let's see. But let's see. The other big news of the month was we're considering looking at upgrading our inter-office telephone system. It hasn't been done in a long time, and it's a pretty old-fashioned I mean, it's not a rotary by any means, but the phones are old, and there are some issues coming up. And we've looked around a few different companies, and I've spoken to people at RCLS, and it looks like a lot of libraries are going to this voice over internet, which, of course, there's always an upfront cost, but over the long run, you know, if the numbers that I've looked at are all correct, sometimes it's hard to tell, there's a lot of them, and they're kind of flying at you, but we found a Warwick Telephone has a very good deal, and that voice over internet means that basically the phones and the in-house systems, the computers all will share the same infrastructure, so everything will be going through that one point. We talked to David spoke to somebody at Wall. They have it there and they're very happy with it. It seems to me, as I say, in terms of cost, it's definitely cost effective, and I like the idea of having one number to contact. Right now there's layers upon layers. We have the Avaya people that do the in-house system, and there's the Frontier, and we have, of course, cable that provides the access to for the computers, and it just gets difficult sometimes to untangle that when there's a problem, to know where to go. You know, you sort of get the runaround. With working with Warwick, it'll cut down some of that middleman, and you know, everything sort of funnel through them. So we're still investigating, but it looks to me like a good idea. I owe Tony at RCLS a phone call because he got word of it through David that we were looking into this, and Tony's the guy that oversees the whole system. And I think they're doing something similar at RCLS, so I've held back just for the moment, because if it's something they want to institute system-wide, maybe there's even a better deal afoot. So I'll let you know as that unfolds. We've also been going through the personnel policy. Just recently, the Division of Library Development has created a database, a massive database with I'm not sure the number off the top of my head, but you know, hundreds of personnel handbooks from different libraries around the state. So it's a good resource, and it hasn't been updated in a while. It definitely needs attention in certain areas, and we're gonna at some point bring that to you with our suggested changes. It probably won't be next month. It's going to take a little time. It's a fairly thick manual. And so let's see. The Friends, I'm sure you all know, have been very successful with their book sales so far. I think you made something like 1,300, 1,600 for the last sale on the Great American Weekend.
One day.
And they did pretty well with the one at the Farmers Market. They also have one this week coming up at the Farmers Market on Friday. I sent Doris Bialis, of all people, was interested in helping us out. I'm happy we're making friends. She said she'd be glad to write us up in her piece in the Independent. Just let her know. So that was a good thing. She's gonna mention it. She's gonna mention that we need more books. I think our shed is fairly empty now. But that was a very generous offer on her part, and don't forget to visit her stall when you go to buy your produce.
Is that a plug for corn?
Let's see what else we have here. Oh, Norton and Christensen have donated $800. They have for the last few years for the big band to help pay for the Chris's band, which is very kind of them. And Ken also was awarded $1,000 from the Orange Arts. And I'm not sure what that's earmarked for. I guess it's for the I think maybe for the Tempest. For the tent. Let's see. And that's the other thing I wanted to mention. Jennifer Cullen, who helped out too with Ken, she's got a good eye for design, and helped him put together the playbill for the play. And David Maloney was able to get some sound effects, all legally, for the Tempest. And I hope we get to actually see it. I wasn't able to go. Has anyone?
This weekend.
Okay.
It put up dates for this upcoming
Okay.
weekend, so Saturday and Sunday.
So, if you get the chance. And I think that's all I have to report.
Just on the report that Michelle Mueller
Yes.
submitted, the head of youth services. I'm thrilled that we're going to have a Spanish language story time, and if she needs any, you know, volunteers to come in and read, to translate, to help put flyers together, bilingual flyers together, please
Oh, thank you,
have
that's
her,
great.
call me at home.
Okay. Yeah, let me know, thank you.
Oh, and the other thing is the security, to consider for the future in your report,
Mm-hmm.
no, Eleanor's report.
Right.
The DVDs and the magazines are developing feet.
That's what I've been told. Yeah, I you know, even I've seen, DVDs are the biggest, victim. The magazines have been disappearing some too. We don't, I won't say too much with camera on it, but yeah, we do need to do something about security at some point. I don't know, it'd be very difficult to retrofit this building, because it means placing basically a sensor at every single item that you have here, which I'm not sure if we retrofit or just go forward. You've probably seen these in libraries, electronic, you know, you've seen these sort of same kind of thing, sensing that or whatever.
Right.
We've thought about it. I mean, it seems to come in waves. You know, for a while you don't notice, and then suddenly, you know, maybe it's just sort of perpetrators move in the vicinity and things disappear for a while. I mean, you know, it's hard. You know, you have front door and back door. It's hard to really
Especially that back door.
Sure,
It's
yes.
hard to-
I mean, these were armed when we came downstairs for fear that, I mean, I'm less concerned about this area actually than I am upstairs. The kids are gonna, bash through the door with door of the Explorer book or whatever, but upstairs you have some pretty, icy stuff. So it is something to think about. But it's fairly expensive, and there are grants that come up occasionally for stuff like that. I don't know if you noticed, I've been trying to forward you some information as it comes through to me, from the grants that are out around. And also, I wanted to welcome, by the way, sorry, I should have said that first, Bernard, good morning. And thank you for being here, Robert. Because you're
I
up
hope we
next.
get to that.
Your turn.
Okay, all right, so we did new business, old business, is the treasurer.
Can I ask you a question?
Okay.
On the reports. I think there's the genre approach that's referred to here, the mysteries has worked out great. Westerns, romance section, I think there's great ways to quote market to help people find what they want. And I know it's a real challenge given the space.
It's tough, but it is, I think it's
I
worth
think
it.
that's a exciting way to help people. And the programming, the films, there were only 5 people that attended that one film. I'm just wondering, that a film series with 5 people showing up, is that really worth time? I mean, it's thinking space. Even in our newsletter, we devote
Right.
time to it and space to it, and other things might be more.
Well, they're 5 passionate people, I'll say that. I mean, I see what you're saying, I understand.
Well, they could meet, in somebody's house with a DVD. I don't know, it just seems like we need to do a culling when it comes to
Yeah,
programs that are appealing to 5
I have to see if,
people.
I mean, the other thing is, I'm not sure if we get the message out enough to the people that would be interested in for that case, that genre. That we probably, I'm not sure whether she had, knowing Eleanor, she probably did. She's usually on top of that stuff. But had posters put out, Eddie Lant or Arden Hiller, that because a lot of the people that come are sort of from, are senior citizens. But it could be that it's just tough for them to get here too. But yeah, it is something we'll have to review. I think she's serious about a couple of films left.
I think there's a film series over at Senior Citizen.
They used to come in here and get DVDs from me. That's right. They still be doing it.
They did a lot of children's films.
You're right, I think it was mostly children's film.
Maybe if we did it, but we did it over there.
Mm-hmm.
Might be easier for their audience to gather. I thought this story time was a great idea, and I was wondering if we could partner with the school district in trying to communicate with parents that this might be available. Maybe a questionnaire that could go home through the school district to ask parents, what's the best time?
Okay.
Because that was one of the issues when's the best time, it might be Saturday, who knows what it is.
That's a good idea. Hear that, Michelle? She always watches.
We think she is.
One place that I think would be a great place to advertise this would be over at the Alamo. Because a lot of families go
Sure.
there, for various needs. And I'm sure if you send a flyer over to Stash, who is the director
Okay.
of the Alamo, he would put it out there.
Stosh?
Yes. Just like Stash, but
Okay.
Stash.
Okay.
Excuse me, Norma, where was he located?
At the Alamo, the
Alamo?
Farm Workers Community Center. It's over on Pulaski Highway.
Okay. Sounds good.
Any other questions for Matt? You good? Okay. Treasurer, you're up.
Well, actually, I came here to hopefully understand why you wanted to change the fiscal year and.
Well, the person that wants to do that isn't here.
Well, then let me
It's
just mention,
Murphy's Law.
I think what you're gonna run into, since you are chartered by the State Education Department, it's not like, you're filing anything with the IRS, it's not a simple requesting your, fiscal year change. You'll have to get approval from the state in order to do that. And since every school district and every school district library in the state, reports annually on June 30 fiscal year, I can't see where they're going to be open to suggesting or allowing you to switch that fiscal year. I think that's going to be a first hurdle. If you get past that, we can talk about how to make the change. But from what you have been doing, borrowing money when necessary to get to the early part of your fiscal year, it's not costing much. And normally what organizations do is build up in the fund balance to carry it for 3 months. That's the best way, you don't have to borrow. But the cost of whatever you're borrowing is so cheap right now that it doesn't make any sense not to do it. And even if you were to switch your fiscal year, you still have to get past those 3 months, and so no matter what, you're in a bind. So by changing the fiscal year to September or October or something like that, it's really not going to help the situation financially or cash flow wise. You still get the cash comes in at the same time. The most important thing is that you file on the same period that all other school district libraries file. So whenever reports and data that they glean from those reports that you file annually is in sync with everybody else in the state. So I just don't think that they're going to give you permission to do that.
One of the arguments that Frank presented was, Frank, the fellow that's not here, was that it's unfair to the taxpayers who paid basically into that fund balance for the prior year to use that for the next year.
Mm-hmm. That's why you borrow money.
Right.
Yeah.
And you could argue that this has been the people that are being punished, so to speak, last year's taxpayers, they benefited from the year before group.
Right.
And then the year before group benefited from the group year before them. Everybody gets a little bit of a
That's why
bump
they don't.
from previous
Right.
group
That's why they don't
taxpayers.
allow school districts to accumulate more. It used to be 2% for many years. Now it's up to 4% fund balance, forcing them to borrow the money for the exact same reason we're speaking about. The idea is the people who are benefiting are the ones that are paying for it. So if you have to build interest into your budget in order to borrow the money to get through those 3 months, so be it. Those people are the ones that are paying the tab. So it's really not so bad. And it cost $125 or something like that last year to do that. It's pretty good. So borrowing money is not a bad thing when you're in government. Whoever's receiving the benefit is what the people are paying for. So to build up a huge fund balance, so you're making people that may not even be in the area anymore paying to build up this fund balance, and it doesn't make sense.
So it's fairer to borrow the entire amount so that the current taxpayers
During
do the borrow, they pay the cost of doing business.
Exactly.
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 So even if we changed our fiscal year, we'd still have to file a report at the end of January, is what you're saying? Yeah, so, right, so and it has to be a 12-month thing, so it would be from the previous July 1st.
Yeah, and even if
So-
you were to change it and they accepted it, it's not gonna change your cash flow, I mean, that's just gonna, you're still gonna have to, at one point, bite the bullet and pay for those 3 months,
Right.
whether it's for an extra tax. The school district is not gonna do an extra tax levy just for you. So what does that mean? You wind up forcing the taxpayer to pay you enough to cover 15 months. Well, that's not fair either.
Yeah.
Because the prior year people that are footing the bill in order to get you caught up to a new fiscal year, so it doesn't make sense.
So now the 250,000 we're over for the year. We're not supposed to have that much money?
Oh, no. That's school districts.
We're not a school district, we're a
You're
school
not
district library, so that's
right.
why I'm asking the
They're different
question.
rules.
They are
You
different
could have
rules,
millions of
but
dollars. If you- as
that's
long
my
as-
question.
As
I know
long as
there's
the
different
taxpayers
rules.
don't kick, you're okay.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, good job. Right, so, that was the reasoning, I think, that was part of the reasoning to bring it up
Yeah.
now, was because we actually have the wherewithal to do this, if we can. This is an unprecedented thing for us to have this kind of money, and we have enough to cover 3 months of expenses. If we were to change our fiscal year, we would be able to finance it, was the point, I think. Part of the point, not the whole,
Right, but
you know.
we don't wanna have 2 books, right? 2 balance sheets, we don't wanna do that.
And we're talking about $125. That's what
Right,
we're
right,
talking about.
right.
That's what it cost you last.
Yeah, so
Right.
I think the principle, in the best of all possible worlds, Frank is right, but, so we're talking about $125.
But in reality, it doesn't.
The reality of working with the
Well,
state,
Interestingly enough, it really doesn't cost you any, it costs the taxpayer, same tax base, but the library itself doesn't really even have to pay that, they're not legally responsible for it. The school district has to either. But it's the same tax base, so it doesn't really matter. Strange laws, but the laws governing school district, public libraries are different. So if you get it,
the school district pays our,
Yep.
Then, yeah, they're supposed to pay our interest, that's very interesting.
we should send a
Yeah.
check.
I was just gonna
Interestingly
say, I
enough.
think we need to figure out a bill.
Would it be legal for us to pay it?
Pardon?
Sounds like it's our responsibility, I mean, maybe
It's
it's not
the same tax
technically.
base, so it doesn't matter. The same taxpayers are paying it. Whether you pay it to the library or you pay it to the school district.
But we're paying
I have
the
an
interest
idea.
payment to the school
What if
board.
the Friends of the Library pay it?
I don't see the value in that.
Then
I
we wouldn't,
don't-
then the school district, 'cause I understood it, there was apparently some resistance on the part of the school board, because we're borrowing some money, they're gonna pay the interest on it. What if we approach them and say, by the way,
We've always paid the interest on it, even though we're supposed to.
Yeah,
pay it.
for that cost, I don't think
We've
there's
been
bad will. That would
It's
be
$100
a
some
problem. It's
dollars,
worth
but
it.
we've been paying the interest every year on the town. The school district has yet to eat the interest as he says they're supposed to. We've been paying it
oh, we,
some.
So,
You don't have to.
We don't have to,
But I
but we
don't,
have
I
been.
think it's a good idea to
Yeah,
do it.
we have been paying the interest,
Okay.
the school board hasn't paid the interest.
okay,
Why
I
is it a good idea
I
that we
misunderstood
pay?
what he said, I
Pardon?
thought he was
Simply
saying,
good, good one, but just, neighborly,
Good
nice
neighbors.
thing.
Well, we don't have to.
Right,
I
but
think
then
so.
they
Well,
don't.
yeah, but
To keep,
They're gonna-
You don't have to, but.
for
for that
$125.
small amount of money,
Yeah,
it's
it's
almost
not
like,
really
here,
worth
I like
tipping
you
off
and
the
we like
school
you
board.
and yeah.
Alright. And they get us the check on time, it's
Yeah.
not like 2 or
They
3
could
weeks
be-
late,
They
you
could
know.
be
They
dragging
could
their
hold
heels
it
on getting
back,
the
right.
cash to you.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, send it on the sign, you don't want that.
Or, yeah, they could, we
You
try to
don't
play
wanna, you don't
nice.
wanna
Yeah, no.
cause hard feelings.
No,
And it's
I
like,
know.
that's $100
I know.
well, if,
and change.
Right.
I think the Friends would be
I agree.
sympathetic and willing to help out.
Yeah, I think it's a moot point since we've been paying it all these years.
Okay.
And it's not like we're
great,
sticking the school board with
great
the
projects
projects.
that the friends do.
Yeah, right,
That they
yeah,
need
buy ice
funds.
cream and stuff and
Yeah.
things.
Looking forward, lots of vanilla.
There we go. So what you're saying is it's not worth doing, it's too much of a headache.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't accomplish what you
It
think it
doesn't
might
accomplish
accomplish.
what, on paper it sounds, well,
Sounds neat, but,
it sounds,
yeah. Well, you know, if it was really, if it really made sense, all the school districts would switch to the same time period,
that's true,
right?
yeah. Well, they get their tax money dispersed at the same time, right?
Exactly, they're collecting it.
Right, so everybody gets their money October first, even though they're,
Yes and no, they're actually collecting it, so their checks are coming in first week of September.
alright, but the point is, their
Yeah.
fiscal year starts July first, just like ours does,
Yeah,
but they
so-
don't get any money till September sometimes.
That's correct.
So how do they operate? They're just closed over the summer?
No.
No, but I know,
They-
that's my
yeah,
point,
right,
they're not
they
closed
borrow
over the
the
summer,
money.
they borrow the money from the
Same
home.
thing.
Yeah.
Do they have a fund balance, or they're not allowed to
Uh,
carry 2 4% or
I don't know if
something?
you've read the paper, Port Huron's a huge fund
Yeah, I
balance.
heard
and,
that,
yeah,
yeah.
Goshen
Goshen,
does, but
I
it's
think
not.
is,
Yeah, it's
most of
not-
the school districts are really struggling because they follow the rules and didn't have a fund balance, and now
they
they're
got their
cutting
budgets
services.
cut.
Oh, yeah, they're hurting bad.
So they'll be really eager to lend us some money.
Yeah, well, it's, but the bank is cutting.
Yeah, I did.
So
it's not worth it.
It's a judgment call. I don't think you wanna cut yourself too short.
Right.
Really good business practice is to have built up at least a reasonable fund balance, at least to cover those 3 months.
So having the $250,000 fund balance is a good thing.
Yeah, actually, I don't shoot for just a second. Yeah, I mean, yeah, okay, it's, thank you, it's good business practice, I suppose, as a, a public, governmental entity, maybe that's not such a good thing, because really, for everything, reasons we spoke of earlier, taxpayers in the prior period, building up your savings account at good cost. So, I mean, that's one way of looking at it, but then you're not talking an awful lot of money, you're not sitting on a couple $1 million.
Right,
So,
we're talking about operating expenses.
yeah, and that's, if that covers 3 months, you're good. But, technically, the best way to do it is borrow the money.
So the best way is to get to June 30th with nothing in the bank? Or
Well,
one
in an ideal
paycheck?
world, but then you get, what if something, you
No, I
can't
know,
predict
that's what I'm
everything.
asking,
Yeah,
I'm
what if that
asking,
roof
what are
has
you
to be
saying?
replaced?
Right,
Yeah.
what are we talking about, you know?
I personally
I'm
don't
just
think
trying to
it's a very
anticipate
good
all the
idea
crazy
to
stuff that people are
to
asking
do
about
that.
that.
It's too risky, bad business, you just, you can't predict the future.
No, right.
Yeah, so I think having a healthy fund balance, 250,000, it's not so bad.
Right,
It's a quarter of what you're spending.
right. And borrowing a 10 every year is not bad.
Any other questions?
I know that at our last meeting, a member of the community asked about the 501c3 status of the library, and
Yeah, it's the
was-
it's the Friends.
Okay,
Of the library.
Library,
Friends
yeah.
of the Library.
Which is,
Have we, is that something?
well,
Yeah, well, I could explain that.
what I've learned since the last meeting is that Joy was correct, that we're not on the list.
The Friends.
Friends
The
of
Friends
Friends,
group.
the library.
The library is, but not the Friends.
Okay.
And as a result, she's a member of Friends, and she's going to pursue the paperwork. Don Miro had seen part of the application and thought it had been processed completely, but it hadn't.
Well,
And so now,
the Friends 501(c)(3).
Mhm.
yeah,
I'm surprised it's.
so she's gonna work on that.
Okay, so it has nothing to do with
No.
us, thank you.
Just as an aside, an interesting thing, you have dual status.
Right.
Because the organization started off as a 501(c)(3) years ago, and then it was converted into a charter as a school district public library, making it a governing agent. But you're still, your 501(c)(3) is still active. You don't have to file a 990. Back in the mid-90s, that was a big thing. IRS looking for your 990. But because we switched our status and became a school district public library, we were exempt from filing an annual 990. But it's kind of cool. There's not too many libraries that enjoy that, because then you can still go out for grants that 501(c)(3)s can get, or governments can't. So that's something that you might want to look into.
That's interesting.
So you have to prove that you're 501(c)(3) to get a lot of these grants, and you got that letter. That's pretty good.
In your files.
You know right where it is, dude.
Oh, yeah, he can find it with his eyes closed.
That's right, it's so well organized.
Thank you so much, Transfer.
Anything else? Thank you very much.
Okay. Have a wonderful meeting.
Thanks, Bob.
Good night.
Good night,
Night
thank
now.
you.
Thank you.
Just let me know about the sign yours.
Okay, so.
Oh.
Police are here. And other old business, well, Carol's not here to write down the Sunshine Committee stuff, so we'll hold off for that for a second.
Alright.
Everybody received Frank's write-up, I guess, and had time to look through it. So that's his assessment of the two properties, the land and the Quattrini and that was it, those two.
Yeah, I didn't read through it. I wish I remembered this, but I paid attention to it.
So that information is in there, for you guys to look at. I want to, also schedule a work session in September for the new trustees. And now that, Bernie is officially here, you'll have July and August. See Carol about getting a trustee handbook. And, you can peruse through that and jot down any questions you may have. And in August, I will schedule a work session for September. So this way you have the summer to read through, go on vacation, take your time, whatever. And think about any questions. Okay, so for the yes.
Oh, is that work session would meet for new trustees only?
Well,
Or
no,
is
the
that a
whole
full,
board can attend
full
if they-
board? Okay.
yeah.
Did you
It'd
have
be
a
nice-
date?
Not
on
yet.
that?
In August I'll schedule, so we'll have a little, we'll have a calendar accessible and this is a good burning time to catch up as well. For the Sunshine Committee, Carol, we want you to make a note that we are collecting $20 tonight for the Sunshine Committee from Norma, Keith, and Jim.
Norma, Keith, and Jim.
And what we do, Bernie, in the Sunshine Committee is once a year, we collect $20 from every board member to put in our Sunshine Committee for things like flowers, if somebody gets married, a card, if somebody gets sick, or, a wedding or that sort of thing. It's like a feel-good club, and we give our money for that, so, gifts and things like that. If you have it now, I'm delinquent, so.
The president?
I know, I am.
Bernie as
I
well?
got pennies.
Yes, Bernie as well.
Thank you.
I think so.
I wrote down Bernie money.
I wrote Bernie money.
And Bernie.
Oh. Alright, okay,
So
Bernie
those are the
gets
people
good.
that gave 20 beans tonight for the Sunshine Committee. Awesome. Okay. I wanted to bring up one other thing since we were talking about, I'll pass this around, buildings and things to look at. The Healy building is for sale. All the information is here. They went $2.4 million for it. It's 26,000 square feet. Everything's here if you wanna look through it. I called, I talked to the realtor. It's not a flood zone. What else did she tell me? There's 150 car spots. Wait for the second floor. We would have to evaluate. It's not in the flood zone. So I took down some notes when I was talking to her after our last meeting. But here's some information. It's another option for the library. Now this would be a second bid if we decided to do the 2.4 million, because they do currently have one offer, but that doesn't mean we couldn't come in with a backup offer if we were so inclined. And the realtor spoke to the village and they said they would push this through because they would love to see the library as opposed to what's considering going in there. So that's information as another option for the library. No.
No, it's a no.
And we can, there's another, I
No,
forget
I
how many
was thinking
acres
about
for
it.
another 1.2 million, so we could bump it up from 3 acres to,
The lot
What's
size is
it?
3 acres.
and then you could buy the additional in the paragraph in the bottom. It said 1.2 million, I think, for an additional, I forget what was it, 5 acres or 3 acres. So we could have a total of like 6 acres for,
3.2.
yeah, something like that.
4.2 acres.
Without, so we'd have to think about it if we wanna send in a backup offer. Their contract expires in the end of September, I believe, Healy. So we wanna think about it, it's hard to think about in such a rush, but it's something to consider, I think, if we wanted to, look at it. It's got the size, it's got the space, it's just another option. And I don't know what, again, Quattrini, we nixed that on what he was asking.
Can I ask a question,
What did you
a
say?
procedure question, not about this?
I don't know how much Quattrini wants for his.
We didn't mix it.
Well, talking about this meeting with Ray, he was supposed to come, we were supposed to talk about it, but then we said we're gonna put it on the back burner until we
Well, I
talked
thought
about
we
it
were
at the
gonna
meeting.
discuss it tonight.
Well, that's what I mean about bringing Ray in.
Not with
We
Ray.
nixed talking
Not
with Ray
just
here.
among
Among
ourselves.
ourselves.
Right, like the physical resources, we're gonna talk to him, get some valid numbers, so we just cut the middleman out and then discuss it.
Alright,
I
just
didn't
what-
mix it, but.
I think we're putting the library in a weak position if we discuss purchasing a building in a public meeting, because it indicates how important, whether we're really feeling strongly about one option versus another option, whether we ruled another option out. When I was in the school board, it was under the state law, you could go to executive session to discuss
in our
the
handbook,
purchase of
too.
Okay.
land. Okay, so I think we should
can
hold
talk
off on
about
any
that
discussions.
and Ray in the executive
Page
session.
20.
Right.
But you have the information there to look at until
Right.
executive
Appreciate
session,
it.
or we can talk about this in August if you want, so.
I think we should.
Yes, just more information.
Item, under new
Oh.
business, Frank, Walter's,
Paperwork.
quatrain report, has that been
I
tabled?
struck that, I'm sorry, yeah, they haven't,
We
they're not,
got
it's
it.
not even on their agenda.
It's not on our
I took it
agenda.
out- I took it
Yeah,
out.
we
I'm
just
sorry.
looked it over.
You have the old version,
I guess I do, I'm sorry.
my fault, sorry, Carol.
Now, how old is this building? Oh, we're gonna discuss this.
Yeah, I don't know, that's all I have there. It was just that everybody was always talking about options.
We're interested.
We're not interested in anything.
Couldn't care less.
Just keep our options open for the public, simple as that. It's whatever Goshen wants at the end of the day anyway, so that's what it comes down to. So what people want is what we'll do. Do I have anything in old business and other?
I have one thing I
Yes,
just,
sir.
I was reminded just now through, Michelle, who was, as I said, was watching too. I have to ask you guys permission, I guess we're gonna stay open late on Friday, cause she has a program, so we usually close at 6, she's asking it, or I'm asking you, if we can stay open till 8 on that day, and then the day, what is it, 24th?
Ice cream
One day
social?
or every
This is
Friday?
this is just this Friday, and
This
then
Friday?
ice cream social.
Right, the
Mm.
bathroom usage,
Right.
right? It's a 24.
We're usually 9 to 5,
It's
24th
the
is a Saturday.
24th is a Saturday,
Oh,
and what's
and
the,
that's the ice cream social.
it's 5 to 7.
5 to 7, so
5
we'd
to
like to stay
7.
open till 7 on Saturday.
Yeah, 'cause we're closed, but they want the library to stay open in case people need to use the bathroom, that sort of thing. from
Oh.
5
We'll
to
be,
7.
sort of half, just for
Right,
the restrooms.
right.
Oh, okay.
Just for that
Gotcha.
sort of
We
thing.
have somebody inside for security purposes.
Right.
So the dates on that would be July 16th and July 24, is that right?
24th,
Right.
Yeah, this Friday's the 16th.
The 16th.
And
So we
she's
would
got
start
a,
until 8.
Michelle has a children's program.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And it's just, we're gonna run late, so she wants to stay open till.
Sounds good.
July 16th to 8 p.m. and
Yes.
July
And
24th until 7
7.
p.m.
Correct.
If I got that right, thank you.
Is the board okay with that? Okay, do we need a motion or we can just,
I don't
okay,
think
it's
so,
good.
it's just,
Alright, so, that's good. Anything else in other? Okay, do I have a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of personnel matters? No motion, second? Okay, so at 8:29, we're going to executive session.
Do you want me to sign that, Jen?
Oh, I had Tiffany,
Oh, okay.
but thanks, no thanks.
You're welcome, yeah, I
Thanks.
haven't got the number.
No, I got your message, and I was in early, and then I left at 1, and then I came back, so,
Yeah, it's-
today was back and forth.
Yeah, I know.
It's fun once a month. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks,
Good night.
thanks,
Thank you.
good seeing you, thanks.
Sure.